Well, hello boxing fans and welcome to another news update. I'm Steve Wellings, joined by Paul Ainsworth, Alex Morris, Brian King, Adam Smith, and we think Paul Webb's going to join us as well. We're just going to be briefly discussing the news that we think Guillermo Rigondeaux and Vasyl Lomachenko seem to have agreed in principle. Perhaps the fight is going to happen. There seems to be all sorts of ramifications regarding catch weights, and there's statements coming out from managers and promoters. No date has been put down as such. But Paul Ainsworth, Big Dan Raphael was tweeting something earlier regarding the fight. You might have a bit more news about it.
So, I'm just really picked up on an article. So what Fat Dan's saying is that he's spoken to Loma's manager, and he's basically said that there's no deal being made. He's not had any contact, and he's sort of backing up a point that I think I've already seen previously, which was actually referring to Gary Hyde. So apparently it's Gary who's put out a statement saying, right, we will fight Lomachenko at 124. We want a rehydration limit, all this, that and the other. But apparently none of it's been agreed. So, again, I don't know if it's Gary Hyde putting all this out to try and force a bit of public pressure on Rigondeaux to take the fight, meaning that Hyde still gets his cut, as obviously Rigondeaux's trying to get away at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Alex, it seems to be that this fight's been talked about for a while now. A lot of people sort of thought Rigondeaux would be too small for Lomachenko, but he's willing to move up, obviously, and weight to make the big fights because he's having so much trouble at 122 trying to find opponents. It's perceived that he has to make the jump up in weight to fight the likes of Lomachenko. Where do you stand on the sort of agreed weights, whether it's going to be 124 pounds or whether it's 126? Can Rigo get up to these weights and be competitive? I know it sounds a bit strange, a guy of his abilities, but I mean, where do you stand on the weights and how far Rigo can go up?
I think that the weight is more of an issue for Rigo's opponents rather than himself. I don't think he'll make any attempt whatsoever to get up to 124, 126, whatever the weight is. He'll be happy sticking around sort of the 118, 119 area, maybe even a bit lower. That's what Gary Hyde said to us, I believe, back about a while ago, that he would probably be better at 118 or something like that. He's certainly a guy who's even probably too small for super bantamweight, let alone featherweight. So the fight with Lomachenko is pretty much the only one that he wants, simply because it seems to be a relatively big money fight, as it were. I mean, Lomachenko still isn't a huge star, but he's got the backing of Bob Arum, who really seems to be pushing him out there for obvious reasons. And Rigondeaux, can't sell shit really, unfortunately. But it's a fight for the purists. Not really a big ticket seller either, I would imagine. But that's not really something that I enjoy discussing anyway. But it's a really good fight, and the weight issue itself. If Lomachenko, in what weight did he win his gold medal at? It was lightweight, wasn't it, that he won his most recent gold medal?
He was definitely at a higher weight, yeah.
Yeah, so he himself is boiling himself down quite a little bit as it is. I mean, struggling. Maybe that extra £2 might be a bit too much for him. The rehydration limit, if it's true. I mean, it's all speculation at the moment, unfortunately. So all we're really doing is pondering the situation. It could all be just complete bullshit, but a rehydration limit would seem wise from Rigondeaux, but then you don't like seeing too many stipulations on a fight where you just want to see the two guys, get at it, basically, have a good scrap. But this is really probably the two purest boxers in the ring, and if they do fight, it's really one for, like I say, the purest fans.
Mm-hmm. Brian, Carl Frampton fights this weekend, obviously in Texas. He's now signed with Al Heyman. There's talk that Rigondeaux wants to break free of these contractual agreements with these many people he seems to be signed with, and also sign with Al Heyman. That would obviously make the Rigondeaux-Frampton fight easier. I've been speaking to quite a few people this week in doing bits and pieces for the newspapers, asking them how they think a Frampton and Rigondeaux fight would go, and all 5 people said they thought Frampton would beat Rigondeaux. Where do you stand on that fight, and would it be easier to make if Rigondeaux was able to get out of his contractual agreements? Who wins out of Frampton and Rigondeaux?
I've openly admitted that nobody beats Rigondeaux that way. I mean, I'd like Conrad Cummins tagged in it, like Cal Frampton. I didn't want to be two-faced or nothing like that. because they were all getting it, a punch can change a fight, which is true, but they seem to forget that Rigondeaux carries some amount of power as well, and this is a guy that's not even meant to be in that division. He should be in the division below. So I don't think there's MD. I don't even know at 126. I say maybe the only person that would have maybe beat him at 126 was Wallers, and that was just because he was fucking huge. But no, I don't like Al Heyman. I think he's a ball bag, and I don't like what he's doing. But for this occasion, I wouldn't mind if Rigondeaux actually signed with him, because he'll get constant fights. He'll be on TV. We'll get to see him. We'll only have to watch one of these daft fucking streams that Alex posts and that. We need to join up some Japanese website, and we'll get to see him. And the fact that he's made Abner Mares v Leo Santa Cruz gives you a bit of hope here that he might start putting everybody in against each other. So he might force these fights, but I don't think there's MD beats him. Other than Lomachenko, I don't know. But what Gary Hyde has said is he wants a 124-pound catch weight, and he says there shouldn't be any problem because Lomachenko's weighed in at 125 pounds, and he wants a rehydration clause of 135 pounds. But I wouldn't even think that Lomachenko rehydrates to that size as well. I'm pretty sure it was super featherweight that he won his Olympic medal. I think he went and done a division. Sorry.
He won the first one in featherweight.
Featherweight, right, aye.
And then he won another at lightweight.
Adam, I have an article in front of me here, and there's quite a few words like suggested, compromised, a lot of talk and negotiations, and there's a quote from Gary Hyde that says Lomachenko's manager, Egis Klimas, is very interested in his charge fighting Rigo. He agrees with me that it's the best fight out there for both fighters. It all sounds pretty speculative and a lot of conjecture at the moment. We're not discussing a fight that's been made or set in stone by any stretch of the imagination, are we?
No, I think we know we've got problems when it seems like the lead article is from Sky Sports, who have called Gary Hyde Graham. That's where we know we're a long way from being signed. We've got no idea of a date. We've got no idea of a location, not even a country. I know this fight has been talked up about Dubai as a potential location. It's an absolute boxing, hardcore's wet dream, to be honest, the fight between them. But again, we're looking at fighters whereby I know Frampton's talk has changed in recent months towards Rigondeaux, but like Golovkin, it looks like people like Rigondeaux are going to have to fight away from their natural weight. I actually believe he's away from his natural weight already. He could be fighting down at bantam, no problem at all. He's going to have to go a lot higher than his natural weight to get, and it's not even a big payday really. I can't imagine it being a massive payday. How many tickets would it sell? Name your arena in America. Name one that they'll sell out. It's not going to be. I just honestly believe
that's the sort of fight that should get brought over here. I think fights like that would be appreciated far more over here.
Yeah, I think I would not be surprised. I know someone's already mentioned it. I'd not be surprised if this is a Gary Hyde. I don't even know what to call him now. Graham Hyde hype job. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. We do seem quite far away from a sign on the dotted line, and if it was up at 1-2-6, I would certainly favour Lomachenko. I think he's superb, to be honest. And
the only problem I've got with Rigondeaux is he's constantly ducking the real WBA champion, and he's made absolutely no attempt to fight the guy, which is pish.
Yeah, and that's really what these amazing, the structure that the WBA employ. I think it's proven to be successful over the many of years, and Rigondeaux's making a mockery of it. It's disappointing, really.
So, Brian, are you calling for a WBA unification?
Oh, that's all we want. And it's really what we need. We need the two big guys in that division to pair off with each other and see who is legitimately the top king, and that is Scotty Quigg.
Fuck's sake.
Log it.
Honestly, he should be moving down in weight. I think the fights are easier to make at bantamweight. It's not as much money, which is the real rub here for Rigondeaux. He doesn't want to fight. He wants to make money. He wants to be rich and be the superstar, that matches his talent. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So if he wants to fight and have a string of decent paydays, then he needs to get a bantamweight over to Japan, or America. Kamada is with Heyman, so he could easily make that fight. And you've got Yamanaka as well.
But he's saying that all Rigo's interested in is money. if that's right, he needs to get rid of these Caribe guys straight away, because was it not Jay-Z trying to sign him and Gary Hyde basically came out? Again, you've got to be a bit wary of what Gary Hyde says sometimes, but he basically suggested that Jay-Z pulled out of signing Rigo because of the influence that Caribe were having and all these stupid stipulations they still wanted on top of him. So you could argue they're holding him back more than anything.
Well, it's a lot of thing that we don't really know at the moment, unfortunately, what's going on with Caribe and Gary Hyde.
Gary Hyde's the one that got him the Donaire fight, though. I know people shouting Gary Hyde, but he's the one that's been busting his balls to try and get him these fights. He was the one that told Bob Arum not to... Who was the guy that Rigondeaux fought and it was an absolute fucking stinker?
Agbeko, yeah.
Yeah. Gary Hyde told Bob Arum, don't make that fight, it's not going to be a good fight, it'll look bad on TV. He didn't listen. Gary Hyde's also the one that got him the Donaire fight. It's Caribe that's fucking up, because
it's people in his ear.
It's
people in Rigo's ear telling him, you can do this, you don't have to listen to that Gary Hyde, come and do it with us, we'll get you more money.
It's the way you're supposed to do when people bring you over on a fucking boat and all that and saying, we've got like 70% options on you and that, you're going to be a slave for the rest of your day, aren't you?
Yeah. But when he first came over from Cuba, apparently there was some other guys who'd forced Rigo into signing a contract illegally, so then Gary Hyde had to fight to get that one overturned.
That's right. Aye.
And then I don't know who it was. Who was it? He fought in Mexico, and I think it's in the book about Rigo when Gary Hyde says he went down and he wasn't sure if he was going to get shot because there was like threats made against him and all sorts. And these are it sounds.
It's in the Bryn Jonathan Butler book, isn't
that's
it?
Right.
The e-book. If anybody wants to read that, that's actually a brilliant read.
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, Paul Webb's jumped on the line. Paul, we'll give you the final say. So if you just briefly give us your thoughts on this potential Rigondeaux-Lomachenko fight, if it were to happen.
I think it's a great fight for sort of real boxing fans, people that appreciate the technical part of the sport. And to be fair, I think style matchup, it wouldn't be quite as horrendous as I think some people think it will be. I think Lomachenko is obviously naturally a bigger guy. I think if I was to back one of them, I would probably pick him to win it, even though I'm a huge fan of what Rigondeaux does and how consistently Rigondeaux fights through 3 minutes of a round. There are very few fighters that are as consistent as he is. I think it will be interesting to see whether it definitely does happen. I know a lot of the rumours are getting stronger that it's a done deal. I think it makes sense for them to go this route. And it's good to see Rigondeaux getting a big fight again after being pretty much just blanked and ignored by everybody in the division. But it's going to rely on a TV network to pick up this fight. It's going to rely on some serious money for both guys. So there's a few hurdles to go yet, but it's one I definitely want to see. It's not going to be for everybody. People that like Gatti Ward shouldn't bother watching it. But if you appreciate proper boxing, it'll be well worth seeing.
Paul, do you know, Hank, know that Rigondeaux's the one that carries a bit of power? It just seems as if he's got that natural power about him, and Lomachenko doesn't seem as if he carries it. He's more a bit of a boxer, but Rigondeaux can punch.
Rigondeaux's disgusting power, yeah.
I think Rigondeaux's power comes from his preciseness. If you watch, was it Willie Casey who he smashed apart in a round?
Yeah, I was ringside for that one. That was brutal.
If you watch that, it wasn't that he was landing huge shots. It was every shot was just so accurate. He doesn't waste a punch. But
he body shots, Paul, on that night as well. They were killer.
Exactly. He doesn't waste punches. But the problem with someone who fights like that is that Lomachenko, who will have a much higher punch output, I think, through the fight, and being that bit bigger, he may appear to carry more power. But at the weight that Rigo's comfortable at, he's a monstrous puncher because of that accuracy.
But look at the boy that his last fight. That guy was a giant. That boy was about 140 pounds.
He was in the ring about just under 140, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he caused some serious damage to him again. But it wasn't from one single shot. It was from that accumulation of punches, and that's where I think it's a really interesting fight. I think it's.
I'd love it.
It's the cliche, isn't it? It's the cliche of the punches that hurt you is the punch you don't see. And you don't see Rigo's punches because they're just going to come in and they're going to fucking clock you. And, not saying that he's not got natural power anyway, but it's those added things that really fuck people up.
This is the sort of fight that would have people no complaining about boxing for the rest of the year. See if this actually get made. People, even I wouldn't complain.
Yeah, and again, it's not as though both men have got millions of options sat at the table. It seems to be something that people want to see. Rigondeaux is desperate for any sort of fight. Lomachenko, as much as everyone likes him, in terms of hardcore boxing fans, he hasn't quite crossed over as someone that's achieved so much in such a short amount of time should. So I think it's a hugely good fight. And like I said, I think the bookies will have Lomachenko as favourite. But anyone that's seen Rigondeaux and looked at Rigondeaux's record, I mean, he's achieved stunning things in such a short professional career. So it would be a bad man to back against.
Rico's the one sort of guy that I really wish Hearn had, because he would have probably promoted him far better over here. He would have. Bob Arab done a fucking shitty job on him, and if Hearn had what Hearn's like with the Sky Hype train and all that, they could have made him into a fucking superstar.
The problem with Rigo, and I remember I wrote an article on it a while back. The problem with Rigo was he has no interest at all in people enjoying watching him fight. So you get guys who are the likes of Winky Wright, who was dull as dishwater to watch if you were a casual fan.
Best jab in boxing.
Yeah, but exactly. But he knew that, and he wanted to be more exciting to watch. It's just his style never fell into it. Rigondeaux has made little to no attempt to learn any English at all. Little to no attempt to try and be exciting. He's exciting to watch for us, but when he fought Nito Donaire, everyone hated that fight. He didn't give a shit. He wasn't bothered one iota that no one seemed to enjoy that fight.
I fucking love
his
that.
style. Exactly, that's his style. That's what he was going to do. We all loved it. That was the fight that pretty much got him binned from network TV in America, beating one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and he got binned. So he's just been unwilling to change, and that unwillingness will always affect him.
Well, all they need to do is look at fucking Gamboa. He changed his style a bit and look at Mendo fucking having to get into wars all the time. That didn't do him any good.
Well, he jumped up in weight so much, Gamboa, as well. That was the issue.
But you've also got to look at, like I said, I've always said with boxing, if you don't have the exciting style, you have to have the personality. Floyd Mayweather was the one that, he revolutionised that. Floyd Mayweather, for a lot of people, is so boring to watch, and yet he's the biggest name in the sport. Rigondeaux, unfortunately, has all the technical gifts, but doesn't have the ability to put himself across. The language barrier is always going to be a problem. Yeah. Language, but if people don't speak English, it doesn't matter if you're exciting to watch.
Well, that's true. See when you hear the American podcast talking, they say, see when they interview Rigondeaux, all he does is shits on people. He absolutely attacks other boxers and all that and calls them pussies and that. And because most people don't understand Spanish and that, they don't know what he's really fucking saying. And the interpreter's not going to actually tell you exactly what he's saying either.
But I've seen videos, you obviously can't see so much, but it seems to have a bit of a... So you can see when he's being interviewed about certain things, you can't tell fully what he's saying, but he seems to have that look in his eye where he is giving it a little bit. But I don't think he gives a shit about learning English or what the fans think. I'm not really sure what he wants, because...
Rigondeaux speaks better English than Scott Quigg. That's fact. That's fact.
He doesn't. I've actually interviewed him, and it's hard work. I mean, it's just like one or two words in Spanish, and that's it. You can get nothing out of him, so he doesn't give a shit in his interviews, doesn't give a shit in the ring, doesn't care what people...
Has he ever heard of Joe Gallagher?
Joe Gallagher was there that night,
actually.
He was with a fighter on the undercard, so Rigondeaux and Joe Gallagher were both in the same building that night, so I'm sure you'll be pleased to know. Right, anyway, guys, here, I think we'll wrap this up. We shall watch the situation with interest. Hopefully this super fight will get made, and we'll all be tuning in if it does. So I'd like to thank our panel for jumping on tonight. The two Pauls, Ainsworth and Webb, Alex Morris, Brian King, Adam Smith, and Andy was on as well. I've been Steve Wellings. Don't forget, if you can like, subscribe, comment or share this YouTube video, it'd be very much appreciated, and we'll speak to you all soon. Thanks.
Scott Quigg, the real champ.
Hellboat TBA.